I think it is connected. Okay, we're live. We are live for the Solar Plexus Chakra Chat. How is everyone today? Hello, hello. We are still coming from New Zealand. Myers is dancing in front of me, doing a chakra dance. This will be our last chakra chat coming from New Zealand, everyone. And all of you are telling me in the comments where you're tuning in from. If you haven't already, please say hello and introduce yourself and say where you are coming from. Okay, we've got Michelle from Tampa. Mindy, hi. She said, woo, Myers. We have someone from Argentina. Let's see here. Yes, you made it this time. You are live. Great, great, great. All righty. So this is our fourth chat in the series, but we are on the third chakra, okay? So hello, Charisse. Hello, Naomi. Hello from the Netherlands. Hannah, hello from Canada, Denver, St. Louis, Missouri. So great. Arizona. Hello, everyone. Please introduce yourselves and say where you are tuning in from. Also in the comments, you guys know I'm going to ask you a lot of questions and you're going to get the most out of this experience if you interact and connect with me and the community members that are here, right? That is the point of joining a live conversation, to be live. So in the comments, tell me on a scale from 1 to 5, how are you feeling in relation to your personal power? How connected are you feeling to your personal power? 1, feeling like you're very disconnected, you're cut off from your personal power source, and 5, being you feel very connected to your personal power. So tell me in the comments on a scale of 1 to 5, how connected you feel to your personal power. 1 being very disconnected, and then 5 being incredibly connected. All right, so we got a 1, we got a 2, we got a 2, we got a 2, we got a 3, 5. Okay, 2, 2, 4, 2. Okay, 1, 3, 4, 2, 3. So we are all over the place, right? Because we're all unique individuals. And we all are going to also swing and slide on the spectrum on a day-to-day basis, depending on the challenges we're facing, how connected we feel to our personal power. But it's my hope that through this conversation, when we reach the end, you feel much more armored to connect to your personal power and use it effectively in your daily life, right? So as you're answering the comments, telling me on a scale of 1 to 5 how you feel connected to your personal power right now, 1 being very disconnected, 5 being I feel really connected to my personal power. If you haven't answered that yet, please move forward and type that into the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to get going with the solar plexus chakra basics. Okay, so this is your solar plexus, and it's also called manipura. That is the Sanskrit name. It's located in your upper abdomen. So if you want to take your hand and place it above your navel and beneath your sternum, you could even take both hands there and place both hands above your navel and beneath your sternum. And this is your solar plexus. And you can immediately feel, the longer you keep your hands there, that your diaphragm is pumping vital energy through your body, right? And you're feeling this pumping sensation, this powerful sensation happening right there in your upper abdomen. So the element here is fire, and that is so important when we look at the 2 elements above and below. Remember, last week we talked about the sacral chakra and the element was water. Next week we're going to talk about the heart chakra. The element is air. So this is really important, and we're going to get to that. The color here is yellow. I'm so sorry. If the video is not working, try to refresh the page. We're doing our best with what we can here with the internet we have. Yeah, refresh the page if you can't see me. And I apologize if it's not the greatest connection today. Okay, the color is yellow. The activity is doing. So this is an active energy center. The orientation to self is self-identification or self-definition. In Anodea Judas' work, when she talks about the development of the chakras through us being children all the way up to about 18, this chakra, the solar plexus, develops around the time we're like 2 to 3 years old. So when we're when we're identifying and creating our autonomy away from our parents and especially our mothers. So this is where she says the ego develops. So the ego starts to develop here at the solar plexus. It's when we realize as a very young child that I am safe enough to be autonomous and independent from my mother because I know she is available and she's a source of sustenance and nourishment. And I know I have a safe home. And so therefore I can start individualizing, right? And then there's so much literature and education behind that process and how your parents and your environment supported your individualization and how that could possibly be playing into the dynamics of your adulthood experience. But I am not going to get into that. I just want us to know the ego develops here at the solar plexus chakra and that the ego is our friend. Okay, so the ego is our friend. It is an incredibly important part of us. It develops our personality. It's what helps us. We have to have an ego to live in the world, right? We just do. It's learning how to befriend the ego. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so the other things we need to know about the solar plexus, the demon here is shame, which is in my opinion, a very difficult demon. The right here is your right to take action or your right to do. The purpose is personal power, will, and transformation. The goals are strength, discipline, mastery, self-esteem, taking aligned action, and removing obstacles with grace and ease. So I want to talk really quick and just share a few suggestions if you feel powerless. So if you're someone who wrote in the comments a 1 or a 2 regarding your personal power, here are some suggestions from Anodea Judith. This comes from her book, Wheels of Life, specifically pages 171 to 174. And she has these suggestions to combat powerlessness. So use the phrases I want to and I choose to instead of I have to or I should. This is a big one for me. And I notice the second I reframe those statements, I have a much better experience. Okay. So use the phrases I want to and I choose to versus I should and I have to. Number 1, break inertia and do something different is tip number 2. Avoid invalidation and criticism from those who do not understand. That's tip 3. Release resistance at your experience because it's typically a manifestation of fear. And as we talked about in the root chakra, if our basic needs are met, we no longer need fear to stand in our path. Okay. So she also says, stop efforting. Imagine yourself flowing. This is a difficult one for me. Break up with what's not working. Let it go. Respect your attention, meaning remove distractions and make sure you can actually focus on what matters. Get grounded before you begin. So get in your body and get embodied, right? Which is really effective, I find, if I do a workout or move just a little bit before I sit down to do something that requires a lot of my focus and attention. Gather information because knowledge is power. Ask yourself, what do I love about my current intention, dream, or goal to stay focused? And so you can continue to use your personal power and direct your will onto that. Combat seriousness with laughter. So that's what we learned in the sacral chakra, right? Use the pillars of play, pleasure to combat when we're feeling like bogged down and stuck. And take care of yourself. Take care of yourself along the way to avoid feeling powerless. So those are some of the tips. And if you have Wheels of Life, page 171 to 174, you will find all of those tips. Now, I want to ask you a pretty intense question. How many of you suffer from shame? Right? That's a big question. Shame is as defined by Brene Brown, she says this: I define shame as the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. Something we've experienced, done, or failed to do made us unworthy of connection. I don't believe shame is helpful or productive. In fact, she says, I think shame is much more likely to be the source of destructive, hurtful behavior than the solution or cure. I think the fear of disconnection makes us dangerous. And this is something really important. I know for me, as I was just reading the shame chapter in another book of Anadea's, she talked a lot about parenting and how shame really starts to break our inner will and our ability to be individualized and autonomous and our ability to connect with our personal power through ways that we were parented. And right, I think all parents are doing the best they can with the energetic baggage that they're carrying and that they haven't healed themselves. So you can tell me in the comments, like, where are you at with shame? And I felt like, yeah, I'm really healthy with it. And then rereading this recent chapter I was reading in Eastern Body, Western Mind, I was finding a lot of threads from childhood, like, whoa, okay, that is something that could still be playing out in my adulthood life. Okay, so let's see here. People said, yep, me, yes, yes, at times. Oh, yes, yep, somewhat. Um, Okay, sometimes definitely yes. Okay, yeah, I think it varies, right? Fight it on a regular basis. Yes, self-esteem issues are big for you. Okay, we're going to get to self-esteem. Okay, so that is the basics of the solar plexus. And now let's get into the pillars. So, number one, I want to talk about the fire element, which I mentioned in the introduction. So, the heat of your internal flame is what helps create transformation. And transformation is one of the purposes of the solar plexus chakra, right? Think about a fire on a stove, a fire outside, just heat in general, how it can transform the strongest of materials, right? A fire can burn down a whole building. So, when we think about our internal flame source that's located within us, right? And it's connected to the solar plexus chakra, we want to think about managing the flame. First, the flame has to be ignited, and that's connecting to your personal power, which we're going to get to next. But we also talked about it just before with all those tips. So, as we ignite the personal flame, it's then our job to manage that flame, right? Just like how you would use a dial. So on Alfie, we have a gas stove, so we have flame. And so it's very easy to see how small or big the flame is. So when we're trying to cook anything, right, we can adjust the dial more appropriately to whatever it is we're trying to cook. Are we trying to boil water? Do we need to turn the flame up? Are we trying to saute vegetables? Are we trying to cook fish very delicately? What is the goal of the flame, right? And so your internal flame connecting to the fire element, the way to adjust that flame, uh, the way I see it that's most helpful is because the solar plexus is sandwiched between the sacral chakra and the heart chakra. And the sacral chakra element is water. And so we're thinking here fun, pleasure, play, releasing resistance, right? Flowing downstream instead of paddling upstream. And then you have the heart chakra, and the element is air. So think about a fire, right? You've got water that plays into it. You also have air that's giving the fire oxygen. And the heart chakras, we're going to learn about it next week, but it's about self love, self acceptance. Sorry about that noise. Myers is fixing it outside. um, so these two elements of the heart and the solar sandwich the solar plexus, and it's what helps keep the flame managed because the flame, think about any flame, it could burn out completely and then we feel powerless, or it could combust and get out of control. And this is like burnout and fatigue and exhaustion. We've pushed ourselves too far. We no longer have control over the flame, or the flame is leading into, because the solar plexus is fire, it's heat, it's leading into anger, domination, aggression, control, manipulation. That's the dark side of the solar plexus, and how the flame gets too hot and we're not managing it appropriately. We can go to either side, complete burnout or a combustion, right? We no longer can control the flames. So tell me how you guys feel about that fire analogy, and knowing that you have this internal flame that's burning within, and you have the water element of play and pleasure and flowing downstream beneath it, and the element of expansion and staying open and freedom and compassion and love all above it, and how these two chakras can help, turn the dial left or right, up or down. So let me know if that makes sense to you in the comments there. Now, that's the first pillar, the fire element. It helps create transformation. Personal power is the second pillar. So personal power is an inside job. We don't get personal power from outside of us. It happens within. So we want that power and the power that's within us to feel productive and purposeful. And like I just said, if the flame is burnt out or if it's too hot, it can lead to manipulation, control, anger, aggression, right? Or it can lead to us not taking any action. It can lead to us sitting in kind of a state of depression and feeling like I have nothing to give, right? I have nothing to provide. There's no power to even ignite the flame. Like the flame can't light up. So personal power is an inside job, but we create personal power through doing. And doing is the activity of the solar plexus chakra. So when we do, but we do in alignment with what matters to us, we then start to, the momentum of, like, I imagine the flame inside, the momentum of the flame is able to grow brighter and expand. And we're able to have a much more productive relationship with that flame through doing, but only when doing is in alignment with what matters, right? And we're going to get to that as well. So let's see here. Letitia said, that's where I think, that's what you think's what's going on with me. I need to get past that, but I don't know what to do. Help me, please. Letitia, can you be more specific in the comments about what you mean there? Jess, it's a great analogy and shows how the chakras play into each other and helps us find balance. Yes, exactly. Okay, Teresa, super helpful. Deidre, I find it strange that I feel my sacral and heart, but are in need of balance, although my solar plexus seems okay. No, it's okay to have some that are balanced and some that are imbalanced. And the more you learn about it, there's going to be subtleties and intricacies that play into it. And these also change on a daily basis. Okay. All right, I got to keep going because we're nearing like the 20-minute mark. So remember, this is simply an introduction to these energetic centers. The third pillar is will. So once we ignite our flame and once we connect to our personal power, now we need to direct it, right? So our will is consciously controlled change. And there's no will without intention. That would be whim. So acting on a whim, right? Will is consciously controlled change, and it's where we take the fire element, the heat, and our personal power, and we will it into something that matters. We will it and weave it into our intentions. So desire happens at the sacral chakra, okay? So you can think of the root and the sacral as your most primal instincts. You've got pain on one end, right? So we're trying to be in survival mode at the root chakra and avoid pain. And you've got pleasure in the sacral chakra, and we're always trying to go towards pleasure. Desire is another word for pleasure. So desire is what fuels our will, right? We desire to be healthier. We desire to save more money so we can get out of debt or go on that dream vacation. We desire for me, a new yoga certification. We desire to remodel our kitchen. We desire a new career. So these desires are coming out of the sacral chakra because they would bring us more towards pleasure. But if there's no intention around the desire coming down from consciousness, then we are acting on a whim or we're not taking aligned action. So the intention from consciousness is the manifestation current, which I'm just going to drop some now. I'm teaching that in January in another free challenge. But the intention comes here in the crown chakra, excuse me, and then it comes down through and it meets the solar plexus. So you have desire rising up, intention descending down, and they meet at the solar plexus. And that's where we take action. Okay. And we use our will to direct that action appropriately. We give our will direction. Okay. So think about that. You have the sacral chakra, and that has desire. You have the crown chakra, consciousness, which is where you create intentions. So you formulate thoughts from within and you bring those down to meet at the solar plexus where the element is fire and you've got this heat and this personal power, and it's how you take action towards what matters. Okay. So, will is all about stepping into your director role and becoming the master of your energy. Anna Dea Jude talks about in all her books, mastery. You can think about mastery as discipline. So, for those of us, tell me in the comments, like, how do you feel about self discipline? I definitely swing on the spectrum. I find myself feeling very disciplined in my work because I think there's external validation that happens through my work, or I know there is. But as far as like ritualizing and making my morning ritual something that happens every morning consistently, that's really difficult for me. And so I lack self discipline there. Okay. Okay, you struggle with it, Doe. Thank you so much for answering. Yeah, how do you feel about self discipline? And I think, again, it varies, right? So that was pillar number 3, will. The next pillar is aligned action. And I was already alluding to this earlier, but not taking action just for the sake of it, being really intentional. There's that word again with our energy and how we use it throughout our day. Getting really clear to us, getting really clear to ourselves around what matters most. Remember, intentions coming down from consciousness, desires rising up from the sacral chakra, and it's meeting at the solar plexus. And we're using our will to then direct that onto what matters most. Okay. So, Christina, that's really interesting. I've also met people with MS diagnoses who've also become very disciplined in their self care because they had to, struggling with it, very willful about work and workouts, but then not great about food. Okay, not much self-discipline here, lots of discipline in some areas, huge struggle in every aspect of life. It varies, it's a struggle. Okay, good at self-discipline, getting better at self-love. Great. Goes in spurts. Super disciplined or not at all. I find that with myself too, Laura. I'm like very extreme. All right. So aligned action is the 4th pillar. And I want you guys to notice the correlation. Like the solar plexus chakra is a very like crescendo effect because we started with the heat flame fire. We then went to personal power, will, aligned action. So it is this crescendo or domino effect that they really do have to happen in accordance with one another. So then we get to self-esteem, which is the 5th and final pillar we'll talk about today. When all of the above is happening, so just think about this beautiful wave happening. When our flame is ignited and the flame is being dialed in appropriately, when we're connected to our personal power, when we're using our will consciously, when we're taking aligned action, the result is we build this bedrock or this deep well of self-esteem that provides strength and sustenance and confidence as we move forward in our journey, right? Like, can I get an amen on how hard it is to take action when our self esteem well is dried up? When we don't feel confident, when we don't feel like worthy of ourselves, and when we don't feel that sense of enoughness, it is debilitating or paralyzing when we know we need to take action. We feel very stuck. So, self esteem is a natural byproduct of the other 4 pillars being put into action and happening with one another, right? So, I'm getting a lot of amens in the comments. So, finally, to wrap up the pillar section, tell me where you feel like you're getting tripped up. Is it igniting your flame or managing your flame? So, the fire element. Is it connecting to your personal power? Is it using your will? Is it taking aligned action? Or is it your self esteem? So, which of these 5 pillars do you feel like you're getting most tripped up at within the solar plexus? And as you guys answer those comments, I'm going to move forward with suggested practices and circle back to what you told me in the comments. Suggested practices for the solar plexus chakra. Number 1, most important, I've been super slacking on this, but I was doing so well throughout the year, is set an intention every single day to guide your will. So remember, we just talked about it. Intention comes down from consciousness. Intention is something that stretches from within. So it's something from within us that comes up to the surface, and we decide, I want to stretch towards it. So setting a daily intention to guide your will is super important at the solar plexus chakra. It literally takes moments of your time. Wake up, open a journal, set an intention for your day. Once you set an intention, define your must do actions to avoid a misuse of your energy. Must do actions. Myers is really big that I always overschedule myself. And so that at the end of the day, I'm always underwhelmed with my performance and I feel less than, right? My self esteem bucket isn't being filled up by my daily actions because I'm not defining my must do actions in accordance with what's really attainable. Okay. So set an intention first and then define your must do actions. Okay, another great one is breath of fire, also known as skull shining breath, also known as Kapalabhati breath. Most of you guys should know this already if you've been with me. It's where you guys know, I'm not going to explain it. Kapalabhati breath, breath of fire. If you don't know it, it's in several of my videos. Okay, the next one. And so breath of fire is great for creating energy or clearing the mental clutter. If we're feeling like we're paralyzed or in a state of debilitation and we can't take action, breath of fire is so good. It's going to clear out that mental closet that is just on a loop of negative feedback, a negative feedback loop. It's going to clear that out so you can take action and move forward with what's most important. Breath of fire. Okay, next one. Stomping, punching the air, or maybe like punching a bag if you have one, pushing into a wall, and or pushing into a wall. So these are 3 ways to discharge energy because the solar plexus is heat, right? So anger, control, manipulation, and domination easily happen here. I easily get angered. So I easily also tend to try to control. So pushing into a wall or a door frame, stomping your feet, or punching the air really vigorously as hard and as long as you can are ways to discharge the Myers said grunting. I grunt a lot too. I do grunt a lot. So yeah, that would be sound, using sound, yelling, screaming. Like if you feel that you need to connect to your power, that's a great way. And also if you feel like you're too charged up, like you're super angry and you don't have a safe way to discharge it, or you feel like you're controlling a situation to the point of ad nauseum, stomping, punching, pushing a door frame or a wall, yelling, grunting are ways to get that energy out, right? Clear it out so you can come back to equanimity, homeostasis, balance. Regularly moving your body is a way to keep your energy up, right? So the solar plexus chakra, I haven't really touched on this. It is connected to your digestive organs, which is why a lot of solar plexus classes have a lot of twisting postures in them. So we always want our digestion to be regular, right? So finding ways to keep your energy moving, which also means keep your digestion flowing, is super important, right? We know that daily movement of some kind is important. I would also say, if you feel like it's really hard for you to connect with your personal power, working with a coach or finding a community like the Body, Mind, Soul Studio that supports and uplifts you is really important. Because if you're someone who is just not naturally like fiery, I'm an Aries sign, I'm a fire sign. This is my natural state. And I actually have to always watch my flame from combusting. I'm always on like the cusp of combustion. So it's not ignition for me, it's combustion. But if you're someone who's having trouble with ignition, so igniting the flame, I can't recommend enough finding a mentor or a coach or a community that supports your personal power. Again, I already talked about this, but going to the sacral chakra, and when you're feeling like you're in doing mode and you can't, you're in such an intense mode of doing, but nothing is really happening. I get stuck here too. Pleasure and play and fun from the sacral chakra are so important to switch up the energy and get you out of doing mode. And then you can come back to your project with this renewed sense of vitality and focus and attention, right? And then lastly, I want to say here, remind yourself that you are enough, that you are enough. So remember, the ego is formed here at the solar plexus chakra. And the ego, of course, is the one who is saying, you are not enough this, you are not enough that, because it's afraid. So saying to yourself, I am enough and I am blank enough, A lot of you, when you told me your limiting beliefs on Instagram a few weeks ago, there were so many limiting beliefs around I am blank, I am not blank enough, I am not smart enough, I am not strong enough. I mean, there's so many blank not enoughs. And I think this is something that is a very common theme here at the solar plexus, and it keeps us from taking action, right? Okay, let me check in. As usual, we're going to run 10 minutes over. Let's see here. So, using my will, aligned action, aligned action, aligned action, self-esteem, 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 igniting the flame, using my will. Okay, so lots of us are at different places with our solar plexus. Really, really great. Yes, I love it. You guys are saying in the comments, I am enough. Yes, type that right now and say it out loud. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. Okay, type it. Say it with me. You'll feel your sense of power ignite. So 4 mantras to take with you for this energetic center. And you're going to want to type these down, but they're also in the description below once this chat ends. I am a powerful being. I take aligned action. I burn through obstacles with ease. I am worthy of a purpose. Yes, I'm loving all these I am enoughs in the comments. Okay, so again, your mantras are I am a powerful being. I take aligned action. I burn through obstacles with ease. I am worthy of a purpose. Awesome. Okay, so I'm super amped up. Let's bring the energy down a little bit and end with some a little guided meditation. So wherever you are, please take a moment to find a seat, and wherever you are seated, please root down through your sitting bones and feel whatever is beneath you supporting you. And please use that support to lengthen up through the spinal column, through the core where the chakras are located, right? All the way up through the crown of the head. And as you lengthen through the crown of the head, feel your chin drop ever so slightly so you have that full extension and elongation from the tailbone all the way up through the crown of the head. And then bring your hands to your solar plexus, so to the space between your navel and your sternum. And if you feel safe to do so, close your eyes and bring your awareness to the powerful pulsation happening beneath your hands. So in your seated posture, hands over your solar plexus, bring your awareness to the powerful pulsation that's happening beneath your hands. This is your power center. This is where will is developed and used to direct your energy. This is where you take action that's aligned with your greater dreams, visions, and goals for how you want your life to be. This is where you build a sustainable well of self-esteem to guide your efforts. This is where you meet challenges and burn through them with grace and ease. This is where you ignite your personal flame to create the transformation you need. Now visualize an internal flame, and your inhale breath increases this flame, and your exhale breath brightens this flame. So on the inhale, imagine your flame expanding, and on the exhale, imagine your flame brighten. And take 7 more breaths with this flame visualization. With your eyes closed, you can repeat after me aloud or silently. Om Namo Manipura. I call upon the creative consciousness of my solar plexus chakra. This is my right to take action. And please open your eyes. Last question before we end our live chakra chat. If you weren't living with shame, or if you weren't living without the self-esteem that you need, or if you weren't living disconnected to your power, what transformation would you create? What do you want to transform in your life? So again, that final question is, if you weren't living with shame, if you had the self-esteem you need, if you were connected to your personal power, what transformation would you create? Like, what would you start right now after we sign off this call? What would you start to do? I would date again, self-love, write a book, start a blog, transform familial relationships for the better. Yeah, really great. I would produce the art that I feel dwells within me. I would create a goddess circle. Yeah. There's 87 of you online right now, so give it to me. What would you change? What transformation would you create? Type it into the comments. When you put pen to paper, it is a first step to creating what it is you want to achieve. Learn new skills. Sarah, what new skills? Queen style B, I would bring back the sexual goddess I used to be. My husband would love that. Mary, right? Oh, Mary said, write a book. Misty, I would do things with greater action and less overthinking. I would be able to trust I can achieve my bigger dreams, take the first big step. I would let go of the past and move forward and create my health and wellness center. Yes, Jackie, Miriam, be comfortable inviting people to my business. Jess, get back into shape and improve my overall body, mind, and spirit. Coach others to be their best selves. Write a blog, paint again, date again. Write my book and unleash my fantasy world. A more intentional mother. I mean, these are so beautiful. Become a better fitness leader, create a career I love with art, transform my entire life, starting with my health. Sarah, thank you. Leadership, clarinet, and painting. Thank you for being specific. Kelly, committed to my health. Maris, become a yoga teacher and healer. Cheryl, do my yoga teacher training and teach. Open a yoga studio. I mean, these are all so similar. We all want really important things in our lives, right? And so the solar plexus chakra is your invitation to take aligned action that matters. Yes, Misty, we can do it. So listen, your goals this week, your homework this week, whatever chakra literature you have, many of you have several different books, please read the solar plexus chakra chapters to learn more. And then please, 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 the most important thing I can say this week is when you wake up every morning, set an intention for your day and keep that intention nearby or revisit it multiple times throughout your day to guide your attention and your energy. So you're taking action and gaining traction towards the life you want to create and live, right? Not someone else's version, not your inner critic versions, not anyone else's version except what you truly want, the life you truly want to create. Let's take action towards that. Yeah? Okay. All right. One quick note before we sign off. Stick with me. I'm going to be in Mexico next week. So, depending upon the internet connection, there is no Wi Fi at the resort. We're going to have to see if our phones will work strongly enough. I might be sending an email and rescheduling the heart chakra chat for when we are out of Mexico and back in America. So stay tuned for that. Also, if you want to combine this chakra system with your yoga practice with an incredible vacation, we have 3 spots left at our chakra yoga retreat in Costa Rica, March 1st through the 7th. That link is in the description below, as well as all of the mantras, suggested solar plexus practices, recommended reads. Okay. and my chakra challenge if you haven't joined that yet. So please do any of the solar plexus classes that I have available as well this week so you can learn more about this energetic center and fire up that flame appropriately. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me. We leave New Zealand in 2 days to fly to Mexico. So it's a super big flight. And we're in the process of getting Alfie ready to be stored for like 5+ months. So we've got a lot of work to do on board. And yeah, we are off back to North America very, very soon for most of you that live there. So we'll talk soon. And thank you so, 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 so much for joining me.